Shalom again. I'm Lover Self, and this is part 2. So now, the chapter of Genesis in Yahweh's Torah is stories about today, these days. And since day one of God's test, it's been 6,021 years approximately. So, of course, with Yahweh's enemies nervously broadcasting the words, "Set your clocks back. It's daylight savings time." They count these days to be the year 2017. So that the world will believe that God's not coming back for another 4,000 years. And since 2,000 and 4,000 equals 6,000 years, God promised 6,000 years of separation from Him to give the people free will. So now the ancient Romans of yesterday and those alive today, they changed the time, per se. And they keep hiding what time it really is. You can read the book of Daniel and the book of Romans in their scriptures, and you'll see their enemies will hide time on the clock, on calendars. And the world has been following suit, doing as they say, whether authorities are right or wrong. So 6,021 days ago on the calendar, it equals only 6 days ago to God, since He's a giant. And His time is one day to be, it's like 1,000 years. So, but to the tiny ant-sized sons and daughters on His earth, 1,000 years equals 1,000 years. So with Him giving His tiny people of earth 6,000 years to live by their own choices, to act good or bad, well, the 6,000 years is exactly that to tiny traveling wanderers of earth. But to God, it's been only 6 days. So His book, He wrote about these last days of the 6,000 years. In Genesis, the story is happening now. So 6 days ago, in God's calculation, His travels in Genesis, in His Genesis story, it starts with Him hovering and settling His ships above Ethiopia, while His His vast self ascends and descends throughout His non-measurable, huge, massive galaxies. Ethiopia was one of God's many paradises. Earth was one big, beautiful garden at the time before all this somewhat destructions here and there. But most of it's still beautiful. So anyway, now, the Lord Yahweh did not call Ethiopia the Garden of Eden. Eden means beauty, though. So who can be mad at Yahweh's enemies for calling any of His garden by the name Eden? So Yahweh God and I and others, we are the people in the story of Genesis. And so we eventually traveled away, though, from Ethiopia, from that continent on over to Yahweh's, the Lord's other continent, which is this one now being called America. But before now, it was once called Jerusalem. New Jerusalem is where we are now. Anyway, so keep it in mind that looking at time in a giant's mind and not seeing time like Earth's tiny folks see it. But imagine that 6 days ago, the first activities on earth began in Ethiopia in the book of Genesis. And for real, Ethiopia, a large area on Yahweh's eastern continent that he named after himself. He didn't call it Africa. For example, Jerusalem. Oh, Jerusalem is what he called it. The Yah meaning Yahweh, and the Ru meaning rule, to rule, R-U-L-E, and Salam was pronounced Salem, Jerusalem, a city he named in the east of his globe. So altogether it's Jerusalem. Yahweh rules his city, Salem, tomato, tomato, Salem. But haters changed it to Jerusalem with the letter J. And you know why, but it's a long story. So anyway, some of the first inhabitants, they traveled on over to the followers of following Yahweh, on over to one of Yahweh's new continents, which is here, and that he named New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem. In the book of Revelation 21, verse 1, about the new heavens coming down and the old earth disappearing, in Revelations 21, they lied there too. Yahweh wrote that he'd come out of his heavens and land down, him, God, and his angels, and travel from his old earth area of Old Jerusalem on into his new heavenly area that he's now calling New Jerusalem. So, of course, once God's children travel from one area of land on to another, well, the former land, it disappears. That's why they use the word, and the earth would disappear. But that's not true. But in reality, like I said before, once a person's traveling from one area of land onto another, the former land disappears out of sight. And so that's what Yahweh wrote. But they changed it. But anyway, if you look back, the former land is disappearing out of sight, yet the land itself is still there. Anyway, so the evil writers, they lied there, saying that old heaven and old earth will disappear. Please go to the next part.